Spicy title, kind of. But the disclaimer is that I'm not a sage, I'm not some wisdom filled figure of unfathomable intellect. I'm just some dude in his 20s that makes videos, enjoys games, robots, and brains. So if you're looking for some kind of epiphany, mind blowing revelation, you might want to skip this because I will disappoint you on that front. So I've been asked a few times what my thoughts are on WoW creators trying Final Fantasy XIV, and my take is a little different than what some might believe. Although I'm going to be serious, if you've watched this channel, you probably already know or could probably already guess. But let me actually expose my actual feelings on this, and it's going to come in two parts here, and I'm actually going to have timestamps in case you want to skip ahead. The first is just, and I think this needs to be said, I really think that it would add a lot. It's just about me speaking on myself at least, and me being a human, and my thoughts about different creators trying different things on a personal level. Secondly, it's going to be myself being a so-called Final Fantasy XIV refugee that did the inverse of what people are talking about. I went from 14 to WoW, and so I was the so-called Final Fantasy XIV refugee. Sure, let's coin that term for me. I really do feel, though, that it does give me a unique perspective on this, and I do think that is worth talking about. So the first point was about how me as a person, how I personally feel about WoW creators and players coming to Final Fantasy XIV. And obviously, I need to disclaimer this. I obviously don't speak for everyone. I cannot stress that enough, but I can speak for myself at least. And so I do ask that people please don't go extrapolating this to others because they're different people with different thoughts and experiences, of course. But for me as a person, all that I would want if I tried a different game would to be treated the same as anyone else. I don't want to be treated special. I'm just another player in that game, and I happen to make videos because I find it fun, interesting, it's engaging content for me to do, and I want to give back to this amazing community that uplifted me. And so likewise, I take comments of like, oh, I want to have like this changed, or maybe you could do a video on this. I take it very seriously because it's like ultimately at the end of the day, I want to give back. And so, as you got probably from that statement, I am basic, really basic. If you wanted hot sauce in the ice cream, I'm afraid that you came to a channel so vanilla that I play here with that same face that absolutely everyone else uses. But I've only done this for a little over a year now, and even in that short, tiny blip of time, there have been points where my real life career combined with other life stresses like dying family members and the like overwhelmed me to the point where sometimes I wouldn't upload in a month. So I don't know if I can even rightfully say that I've been doing it that long, but I've been around roughly that long. But for such a small tiny period of time, I have seen the subscriber count grow and grow and grow, and I don't think I can properly explain how it makes me feel. Overjoyed, confused, scared, anxious, excited, validated, all of the above. It's really weird when you can go from being unable to have a group of 20 adults, grown adults, listen to you and be like obligated to listen to you in the room, to now and struggle. They didn't listen to me. Cat's out of the bag. In fact, one of my TAs literally told me flat out to me, I should rethink my career path. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not joking. It was really painful. I'm not gonna dwell on that, but yeah, that real thing really sucked. But now to go from that situation and being told to rethink my career path to now where I'm at with this channel is like, oh my god, holy what the F. I have people subscribing and liking my content out of their own volition, and I actually have people say that they're like fans of me, and I'm like, say what? you need It's so surreal to me. But to have gone from literally someone that played this game for years, the same amount of time in game as I do now, really, which is too much time, but I did that before, to now I have people recognize me in almost every single Diluvium Regane run I do, has been such a massive shift. And to be clear, I've gone almost no hate. I do see mean comment here and there. Welcome to the internet, though. Putting yourself out there, you're going to get something. But overwhelmingly, it has been kind and positive and reinforcing and so uplifting. I don't know, maybe some creators are just numb to it over time, but for me personally, I can say that I am suffering from some tremendously bad imposter syndrome. I sometimes get some of the sweetest messages in game, and they are extremely uplifting. But I've already said that. But what I haven't said yet is sometimes, oddly enough, I am actually told I am an imposter posing as myself. I'm not joking, which is extremely flattering. But I don't think anyone would really have the time to do that. I don't think I'm anywhere close to that level. Like, I am not, like, I'm not like an Asmongold or anything like that. I'm not a Preach. I'm not an Asmongold. I'm not a Bellular. I'm not a Mr. Happy. I'm not a Zepla. I'm. It's very humbling, but I don't think that'll happen for me. But if you do see someone being an imposter, tell them they have excellent taste. I can't even say that with a straight face. But yeah, Cole Evix on Gilgamesh on the Aether Data Center is 100% me. Gilgamesh has been my home server for like ever. So, that's me. Unless I'm dying, in which case you can call me Name It. Your eyes are only tricking you into seeing Cole is the name. It's actually Name It. Your eyes are just mistaken. But jokes and silliness aside, I'm really not that special. I'm just one person and a deeply inherently flawed person that's trying to get better every single day. But to give perspective, and I know Name It will be so unhappy with me saying this because he's just like, you shouldn't call yourself that. But I am, to be frank, a med school dropout that went to study AI and machine learning and comp sci, and I have had many opportunities to go to graduate school that I did turn down because I want to get into industry. I really want to move on with my life. I was in school for so long, and I want to be independent, to quote-unquote go somewhere. Now I'm laid off and pretty much struggling in the current economic climate to get anything, but it kind of like reinforced me to take on this channel and to launch my future website in a very serious manner. And it's just like, you know what, if life gives you lemons and belts them across your face a few times, I mean, you gotta take them and pick them up. But I do want to say, like, fundamentally myself, I do feel like I've fallen off of a horse, and no, I can't get back up on that. I remember literally telling one of the biggest names in the field of AI and ML, who really did get to know me on, like, just that I had no desire to go to grad school. And I said that to him face to face, and I was in his office many times, like, talking to him about things, because we shared a very similar background. And he is an absolute leader in the industry and in my university and the field. Very, very, very big name. But beyond that, I really liked him as a person. I completely respected him. And it just was so crazy to see someone with my kind of diverse background, like with like the comp side, with the neuroscience, well, rather kind of like psychology, but like to see all of that and someone be like successful but also so like such a humanitarian and such a good person. And me saying that has been a regret that I now carry like a burden of bricks on my back pretty much every day. And I'm going to be a little frank here. Let's take my beautiful boyfriend, who is just gorgeous inside and out. He truly such a wonderful person. He has been so kind and so good. Name It is literally getting a PhD in one of the most difficult quantitative science fields out there and has been in some of the most wild publications, literally huge, crazy things. And yes, I mean my Name It that I love so dearly. And I'm going to support him until my last breath with everything I have. I love him 100% inside and out because he has a great beard and backside. But fact is, I'm working on it. And how to say it? I'm working on it, and sometimes I turn to him just like in passing, and I feel like I'm feeling the weight of like my life decisions come crashing down on me, brick after brick after brick, just turning, because I'm literally with someone who is with getting their PhD, a literal doctorate, and then there is me. And I can't help but feel insignificant and unworthy, and sometimes it really hurts more than I really can express properly. But this leads, ultimately tying back into why I said that, into the fact that there is a certain level of glamorization of YouTube and content creation and people that get a few thousand subscribers, which to say, oh my god, let me say, like, I am nothing short of deeply and truly appreciative. It is mind-blowing. I am like, whoa, I went from like, I couldn't get to anyone out of like 20 people to listen to me to this. And I had like my like TA like tell me I should rethink my career path. It's like, words cannot express how appreciative I am. But I think now that I have spilt a little bit of tea on myself, the drama channels, if anyone cared about me, and they won't, now I've spilt the tea on myself, you will know that when I say that I appreciate it, that I mean it from the bottom of my soul. I really, truly do. But you don't know what necessarily everyone is going through and what people have been through. And while YouTube videos and Twitch streams and this and that and fancy editing and poppy music can change perceptions, at the end of the day, we're all wrangling some demons. All of us. Or heck, let's get like even more stupid. So me and Name It were driving up, and this was just the other day, and rather he was driving and I was in the passenger seat to A&W to get some burgers. We didn't have coupons on hand, and so I tried to help him get the website open on his iPhone for the coupons on his phone. Didn't work for a plethora of reasons that I won't waste your time with. But I was like, oh my god, I can't afford these burgers, they're too expensive. And he said it was no big deal and he'd pay and all that. And the fact is, we've got to the like opening like window, and I was so indecisive at that point that I wasn't sure what to get at full price, that ultimately he got his meal and we later drove through and got some value items from McDonald's for me. But in a similar vein, but obviously not everyone is going to have that same issue of like burger indecision like me, but in that similar vein, why can't someone want an A&W breakfast burger or a Papa burger or a Mama burger or maybe just tendies? Give me them chicken tendies. But it's good we have the options out there and that people can choose different things, and sometimes they want the Final Fantasy XIV burger and sometimes they might want the World of Warcraft burger. Why not at least let them have the option of having the Final Fantasy XIV burger? Which is why I really say, just to close up this first section, that my sincere hopes as a person is that people are willing to treat anyone coming to Final Fantasy XIV like they would anyone else, and I mean it. There's just so much going on out there, even in 2021, that's extremely important that we be ready and willing to accept and like embrace people that come our way. So if they want to try it, why are we changing how we act? Why not welcome them with open arms? I see it as nothing short of a great thing. I see it really as a great thing. Our community right now, as it stands for years now, stands as a pillar of welcoming, openness, and kindness, and I'm really so proud to be a part of it, and it would be a shame if we let our preconceptions and these strange us versus them groups stand in the way of us acting and being the way that we always have. But let's not forget the other side of on the other side of that video is a very, very real human. That doesn't change just because they're losing hair, have a patchy beard, and talk about the clean, unholy rod more than I do as a gay dude. Sus. So now part 2. The Final Fantasy XIV refugee that went to play World of Warcraft. Me. So background, fall last year I went and tried World of Warcraft in earnest for the first time in so incredibly long. I want to see and try things like Beastmaster Hunter, see what Disc Priest was like, try Restoration Druid, and really explore what other options were out there. I'm fortunate because Name It, my boyfriend, who I've known for literally a decade as we talked about Mass Effect on the bus and all that stuff, was a healing officer in his guild, and I was able to really immerse myself into very high level Mythic Plus endgame rating and really immerse myself in content that I honestly probably had no right doing. I was guided at a level of privilege that most newer or long time returning players to WoW would never get. But that's a tangent, so let's draw it back to the point. I was highly motivated to come and try World of Warcraft as someone who just made Final Fantasy XIV YouTube videos for fun and to give back to community. So for me, I'm not the type of person to just sit on my hands and be happy with just knowing a tiny chunk of information. I guess me kind of laying the cat out the bag of what I did kind of indicates that to you. But I want to know more and really explore what is out there. When it comes to information, I'm voracious for it. Like, I need to sit down and I need to read up and know as much as I can until I am flat out exhausted. But for me, I really wanted to seize an opportunity to learn and grow my skill set in new healers, a new game, and actually be informed of what my subscribers were talking about. Heck, even when I was at just 200 subscribers and released my Summoner Guide, it was surreal to think how we got here. But even then, even at 200, I was still having parallels brought up here and there of like so many different WoW references. And it actually really did bother me not being able to really connect the dots. I was like, what is this heroic rating? What is this mythic rating? What is a Legion artifact weapon like our relic weapons? What is healing through dealing damage like Disc Priest Atonement like? Or what on earth is this insane term called cat weaving? Like, is that a cat with knitting needles? Obviously not when you... But when you have someone unfamiliar with that term, saying something like owl weaving or cat weaving sounds asinine. It sounds absolutely insane. It's like, what are you talking about? And now I know what it is actually like, and I understand these terms, and I actually played the classes, and so I'm better able to articulate how I feel about, say, something like what is a WoW token, or what a Holy Paladin melee healer style is really like, or what cat weaving is like, or say having to preemptively apply stacks of heal over time effects to targets to boost healing through Rust or Druid healing, through Master Bones. Final Fantasy XIV, the best we can do is like 3 hots at once through Regen, Medica, and Asylum. But really, with doing WoW, it went further from that. I began to observe with a fine-toothed comb how raid leaders act, what attitudes were towards content, how people approach various scenarios with different terminology. Take, for instance, what a funnel is. That's not a term you hear in Final Fantasy XIV, like, ever. Funnel? I don't remember hearing it ever in 14, and I've been very active across communities. But you can play a role and use like funnel in there. Like, I'm thinking immediately Bard is a huge player that can take advantage of funnel. So that's definitely an interesting new thing for me to pick up. Or for me, I've paid far too close attention to Limit Maximum and his strategies to raid leading. You could honestly probably say that I'm one of his biggest fans of content and one of his biggest supporters, because I watched it, I legit studied it to take notes, and I'm really going to be melding his style into my own, as well as some different strategies that I've read. Sometimes they're even from like business strategy books and stuff, but I'm going to meld that into like my own raid style in Endwalker. And so Limit Maximum, absolutely love the dude. He's freaking amazing. But how about just simply the ability to relate to people who come to Final Fantasy XIV with balance concerns? That's a perfect example, actually, the balance concerns. I've experienced firsthand being declined from groups as a Beastmaster Hunter, this Shadowlands expansion in World of Warcraft. I didn't want to play Marksman because it really felt like a significantly less fun, to me personally, Machinist. And Beastmaster was more fun, it was engaging, it had pets, that's not something I could have in 14, and so I was instantly more attracted to that. But the balance issues that I encountered and experienced inform me on my future content and allow me to relate on what WoW players are really talking about. I really think, which as a human being, I feel that their ability to relate and resonate with people is not just important, but it's fundamental. Without that, you're really lost. But now let's hammer down the reason that I even brought up this point very clearly, just to completely remove the fog. When I went to World of Warcraft, I was never harassed. I had no one put my name in big flashing lights. I had no one say, oh my god, Cole Euler went and he did this, and like massive reactions. In fact, I tried extremely hard to avoid it, which was very easy because I had almost no eyes on me at the time. But whereas now I die into Lubrium Regane and I have people exclaim in horror and shout chat like, oh my god. But now if I had everyone's eyes on me when I went to play World of Warcraft and people ridiculing my every move and action, expecting me to say the right thing at the right time or what have you, I don't think I'd have really been able to have tried World of Warcraft. I think it would have made the entire experience much less than it was for me. Which was a set of really good experiences and really bad experiences. There would be a set of hopes, and it would be wildly disproportionate expectations with an audience tracking your movements. Expectations you could not meet. You could not hope to meet those expectations. Really, I don't think I'd enjoy myself, and I think I'd just be done from the get-go. I think I would go in, I don't want to say jaded, but I think I would go in very guarded. So really taking this with my first point, I just kind of want us to ultimately be the same community as we always have been. Welcome anyone into Final Fantasy XIV with the same graciousness and courtesy that we were all really welcomed with. I'd say things like, we need to accept that people might not like what we have here, and that's okay. That's totally good. We should be okay with that. Diversity of thoughts, feelings, and opinions is ultimately how we really do come together as a larger community. Because it's not just 14, it's not just WoW, it's like MMOs in general, gaming in general, blah blah blah. Like, this is how we move forward, really. Like, there is so much World of Warcraft could learn from 14, and there's much 14 could learn from WoW. And I think that we really need to set aside this obtuse us versus them mentality. To me, it just reminds me of how when I was super young kid, which even back then I didn't really understand at all, but when I was super young kid, it was like Xbox versus PlayStation, which turned into Apple versus Android, which just turned into more silly things. There doesn't need to be this weird battle line. Sometimes we can just relax and just really let one another as humans with our own goals, desires, hopes, and motivations try something new. I don't see why it needs to be any more complicated than that if someone comes from World of Warcraft or from Hello Kitty Online, or if they have a long legacy of playing literally every single Final Fantasy game in existence, which I can tell you I have missed quite a large number of them from that list, and I still haven't even had an opportunity to sit down and play the Final Fantasy VII remake, that even though my sister does own it. I hope people don't hate me for that, but that's the truth. But yeah, I guess there's just my opinion on that.